Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Li Ning JB 2. So of course this is Jimmy Butler's second signature shoe with Li Ning, and this shoe is freaking expensive guys. I've seen some prices of this shoe go from like $250 to like $300. So I definitely feel like Li Ning should definitely have an American site, because I think those are all like resell or kind of like third-party sellers, and they're probably originating from China, and they're probably trying to ship it all the way to the US, which makes it super expensive. It makes me sad because Li Ning makes amazing shoes, and apparently in China they have pretty good prices, you know what I mean? But anyways, this is Jimmy Butler's signature shoe, and yeah, this shoe looks pretty dang good, and the JB1 was a really nice shoe as well. So how does the JB2 perform? Let's check it out right now. Let's get it started right off with the traction. So the traction is weird. We got triangles, right? So here in the forefoot we got triangles kind of like protruding out, and then here in the heel we got triangles kind of indented into the actual, like, this is not an outsole, this is just foam, right? So this is, first of all, this is just weird, right? So they're calling this GCU, which is supposed to stand for ground control unit, or they also have it as ground control system. But Li Ning, apparently they did R&D, research and development, for rubber compounds, right? So all of the rubber compounds that they use on their shoes is supposed to have better grip, like 20% better grip. I don't know where they got that statistic from, but it says it's like 20% better grip. But also it's lighter weight than traditional rubber, and which of course is good because rubber is very heavy. It takes a lot of weight on an actual shoe, like any shoe, right? And also it's supposed to be more durable. So I do like those statistics. I do like how they did R&D for that, because I feel like a lot of shoe companies don't really do that, you know what I mean? Like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, when do they ever talk about their rubber compounds, you know? So I do like what they did there, and it seems like it is just here in the forefoot. The GCU is just right here in the forefoot here, I guess, kind of coming into the midfoot, and then we have this foam here in the heel. But anyways, how does the traction perform? Oh my gosh guys, it's so dang good, and it's so good that I can't really pivot super well. You know what I mean? I mean, I definitely can pivot, but I definitely feel like it was kind of harder. It was a little bit harder than traditional rubber because it just sticks to the ground so well. And this is the only shoe that has rubber that performs pretty much exactly like Under Armour Flow on a clean court. You know what I mean? So if you guys have ever played in Flow, it stops literally instantaneously on a clean court, and that's what this shoe does on a clean court as well. So if you're playing on a clean court, the bite is extremely good. You pretty much stop like instantaneously. You know, it's not even stop on a dime, you stop instantaneously guys. So yeah, this has an amazing bite. And also if you're playing on a dusty court, even though this outsole pattern is kind of weird and just non-traditional, it doesn't really pick up dust, you know what I mean? It just bites through dust extremely well, and I literally like never had to wipe, you know? So it was really nice on a dusty setting as well. The only thing that kind of worries me is, I guess, durability, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like, well, it's not deep as far as the grooves go, but like I said, they did do R&D, and they are saying it is more durable than traditional rubber, but because it is so shallow, I don't think it'll be the best for outdoor use, right? But if you're playing on an indoor court, it has amazing bite on a clean court and barely picks up dust, and bites through dust extremely well on a dirty court. And if it does pick up dust, it's a very easy wipe. So traction is absolutely amazing. Also, another thing, it doesn't really squeak at all. You know what I mean? It's a very silent traction, just like Flow, you know? So I did find myself, it did squeak a little bit. It was like really clean and super squeaky clean, and it was a little humid, especially since it has been raining a little bit. It did sort of squeak just a tiny bit, but for the most part, it's a very silent traction pattern, of course, which has nothing to do with performance, but that's just how it is, you know? So there is a traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels really nice, right? So here in the heel, we got a nice curved shape, right? And we do have this midsole. I'm not 100% sure what this foam is, because there is a full-length boom midsole like inside of this, right, in the core, pretty much right underneath the foot. But yeah, this is still pretty soft, right? So we do have a nice transition from the heel and into the forefoot. You guys can see this curve shape. It's pretty much a very nice U shape. Look at that, guys. Look at the forefoot here. So I love this shape, you know, this rocker shape in the forefoot. It keeps you on your toes, and it makes it very smooth here in the forefoot. And then, like I mentioned before, we have a full length a carbon fiber unit sandwiched in between the actual boom core or the boom midsole. So it's, look at that, you can see the tension, you know what I mean? So it takes a little bit of strength to bend it, and then has a very nice springiness, which, you know, when you're coming out of your first step or you're doing heel dominant strides on the court, it kind of like propels you forward, which I do like. Of course, since they made it so curved here in the forefoot, it doesn't really bend as much, you know, with the anatomy of your foot, because if you put a little bit of, you know, weight here at the tip of the toe, it just goes forward anyway, and it's already bent like this, you know what I mean? So it's not super duper springy, but there still is a nice little spring in your step because of that, which does feel nice. And it reminds me a lot of the Lirans. The Lirans also were very springy. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like the Lirans are a little bit springier, but the JB2 still feels very nice. Now moving on to the cushioning setup, which is also one of my favorite parts about the shoe. Besides the traction is really good too, but the cushion is so dang nice, right? So as far as the court feel goes, I would say it's around average court feel. It's pretty dang good for court feel. You don't feel super low to the ground, but it's not terribly high up off the ground either. Impact protection is absolutely amazing, and also it's super duper bouncy. It reminds me a lot of the Liren 4, and of course they're both Li Nings, you know, this is Li Ning, this is Li Ning. They're both using full length boom, right? So yeah, as far as the insole goes, the insole is not super thick or anything, right? But it does add a little bit to the stepping comfort. But I do really like the kind of like ridges here in the forefoot. That kind of grips your foot, and you know, it kind of keeps it in place and adds a little bit of stepping comfort in the forefoot as well. But underneath that, it's not a crazy soft mesh strobe board or anything, but the strobe board is actually not that stiff. It's pretty soft, and when you kind of like poke it with your finger, there is a good amount of compression. So you can feel the boom pretty much underneath your foot, and like I said, it is full length, right? But also another thing is that the carbon fiber, like the full length carbon fiber plate, is sandwiched in between the boom core midsole. So because of that, you have boom underneath your entire foot. So for example, in some shoes that have full length boom, like, you know, in the AC12, the All City 12, they have full length boom and they have that soft mesh shoulder, which is super duper nice. But in the midfoot, we have that like a midfoot chain plate, you know what I mean? So in the midfoot, it's kind of stiff, but here in this setup, we have we don't have that, you know what I mean? You have boom pretty much right underneath your entire foot, which is your heel, midfoot, and forefoot. So yeah, I don't know what they did with this boom setup, but it's really bouncy. And I usually don't compare foams to Zoom, but this foam kind of reminds me of Zoom. It's very, very bouncy, and it reminds you a little bit of like a full-length Zoom unit, but like the traditional Zoom unit. It's not a Zoom Strobel, but like a traditional full-length Zoom unit found in like the, you know, the KD11s and stuff like that. So that's what it kind of reminds me of, you know what I mean? So it has a nice bounce. It has really good stepping comfort and underfoot cushioning. It's very comfortable. It's also responsive. It's not super muddy. It doesn't feel super mushy or anything like that. It doesn't make me slow down. Court feel overall is pretty good. Impact protection is absolutely amazing. Heel strikes, you're covered. Landing hard here in the forefoot, you're covered. And also there is a nice little compression here in the heel as well. It's not super soft, you know what I mean? They made it actually kind of stiff, but it's way better than just really like caging the foam, you know what I mean? So the overall cushioning setup is absolutely amazing, and I love how they put their best tech into this shoe because they better, you know what I mean? It's like $300. It's super duper expensive, so it's a really nice cushioning setup, and I definitely feel like a lot of people enjoy it, right? And now moving on to the upper, so they're calling this the boom fiber, and they're calling it boom silk, you know what I mean? There's just so it's pretty hard to get, you know, tech specs for Chinese shoes, Chinese companies, because it's always in Chinese, and third-party sellers, they all say different things, you know what I mean? But anyways, so this material is actually pretty dang nice, you know? It kind of reminds me of like Leno weave a little bit, you know what I mean? But a lot more tightly woven and also a lot more durable feeling, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel super thin and flimsy or anything like that. So we have that, and also underneath that we have another material. It seems like there's another textile material underneath that. You can see 3 strings kind of embroidered around the tip of the toe and kind of goes around the entire shoe. And we also have an underlaying material at the tip of the toe for better durability and support. But yeah, it's very, very supportive, and also really, really nice because it conforms to your foot really well, you know what I mean? So they did a really good job in making this material. I feel like it doesn't feel super cheap either. And then here in the midfoot area, here on the lateral and medial sides, we can see more underlaying materials, right? And we have the Li Ning logo with this kind of like carpet material for this colorway. The tongue has no padding, which I don't like. And it's also a pretty cheap material, you know what I mean? You got this kind of like very crappy feeling synthetic suede. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And this tongue is kind of like connected to this textile material that goes underneath this upper. You know what I mean? This kind of like boom fiber material. And then here in the ankle area, we have like an average amount of padding. It's not super well padded or anything. So overall, the quality is great. It's thin, supportive, conforms to my foot very well. So yeah, it feels nice on foot and feels great in hand. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel super cheap or anything. So I do like the overall material. And we also have this external TPU heel counter with Jimmy Butler's logo, which is pretty cool as well. So there's the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size, and I definitely wish I did go true to size. It does run a little bit long. It is pretty snug here in the toe box. It's weird, you know what I mean? So when I put the shoe on, it does feel like the upper is like right on top of my foot, which does feel nice. But then when I kind of like curl my toes up, it kind of comes up a little bit, you know what I mean? So it probably has to do with this upper, you know, because it is pretty loose. So it's weird, you know what I mean? It feels snug, but not at the same time. It's weird, you know, but overall it's not terrible or anything like that. And also width wise, I would say it's around normal width. But I definitely do wish I did go true to size. So I feel like most people, if you want a pretty snug fit, go true to size. But if you want it to be a little bit looser, definitely go up half a size. And you should be fine, you know, if you want to be a little bit more on the safer side of things. But again, if you do want a very nice snug fit, go true to size. And if you have a wide foot, probably go up half a size to maybe even a full size. But for me, like I said, I wish I went true to size. Now also here in the midfoot, it does get a little bit narrower than here in the forefoot, but not super narrow or anything like that. So there's the fit there. Moving on to the support in lockdown, I had zero issues, right? So as you guys can see here in the forefoot, we got this plastic piece, you know, kind of has like this tooth pattern. So that comes up acting as a sidewall, and also we have some underlaying materials as well in the upper, so you have better support in the upper. So here in the forefoot, you're good. Here in the midfoot as well, the plastic does come up acting as a sidewall, and here in the heel, we have this external heel counter. So lateral containment was good. You know, I had no issues. My foot was not coming out of the footbed at all. And as far as lateral stability goes, it's very good too. We have a very wide base. You know, this does protrude out a good amount, so I had no issues with that. And also, I didn't really have any issues with heel slippage. So when I tightened the shoe up, it did feel pretty dang supportive. With this boom fiber material though, it does move around just a tiny bit. So I'm not saying it's not supportive. It was adequate for me. You know what I mean? But comparing it to shoes like, you know, the Harden Volume 8, the Dawn Issue 5, those shoes are going to be a little bit more supportive in the actual upper, obviously, you know what I mean? But with this, you know, upper, it is a lot thinner and still adequate for me. I feel like it'll be adequate for most people. But if you want a little bit more support, like a really, really, really supportive shoe, then obviously this is probably not the best option, you know? So there's that. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, this shoe wasn't super light, but also not super heavy. I think it was like average, right? Yeah, 12.3 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 12.6 ounces, right? So it's around average weight. The average weight of my shoe is around 12.5 ounces. So yeah, this shoe is average weight, but it feels extremely responsive. Like the traction is so dang good, and it's so consistent on pretty much all surfaces. If you're playing on a clean court, if you're playing on a dusty court, I had really good stops. Also, the cushion is really responsive too. You know, you have pretty good court feel and you got that nice bounce, and it wasn't too mushy or anything like that. I didn't feel slow. It just added to the responsiveness of the shoe. The upper is super minimal. I felt locked into the shoe as well. So it's a very nice responsive shoe that I really like to play in. You know what I mean? It does feel a little bottom heavy, especially here in the heel, because the upper is just so minimal. But overall, I really liked how the shoe felt on foot. And now moving on to the ventilation, really, really nice. You know what I mean? We have this boom fiber material, and there's a lot of airflow, amazing airflow through this upper, here in the toe box, here in the midfoot, and also through the tongue. So ventilation is really, really good. And then moving on to the aesthetics, I like the overall aesthetic. This colorway, not a huge fan. I mean, okay, so I do like the color, but I don't like this carpet thing on the logo. But other than that, I do like the overall silhouette. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yes guys, this shoe is really, really nice. Besides the fit for me personally, which wasn't terrible, but it wasn't amazing, this is a really, really nice shoe that I really enjoyed playing. Again, like I said, the traction, I haven't experienced really anything like this traction with a rubber outsole. You know, it stops really hard just like the Curry Flows on a clean court. Cushion is also absolutely amazing. I love the carbon fiber, like full length carbon fiber plate, which makes the shoe springy, but also is very bouncy for the cushion, like full length boom. The upper is minimal, support and lockdown is great. So yeah, I feel like most people will enjoy playing in this shoe, and if you're a guard, I definitely feel like you'll enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's not the best for court feel, and also it's not the lightest feeling shoe, but if you enjoy like a bouncy shoe with really good traction, this is amazing. And I definitely feel like Currys should feel like this. You know what I mean? Because Currys, they have amazing traction, right? But it does pick up a good amount more dust than this, and also the cushion. The flow cushion just kind of is not that nice, you know what I mean? This is way nicer. So I definitely feel like, you know, if Currys play like this, I would like Currys a lot more. But anyways, this is an amazing shoe, and I really enjoyed playing in it, and I definitely do recommend it to you guys. So that about concludes my performance review of the Li Ning JB 2. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.